What is good, YouTube? Welcome to the Real Ninja Reviews channel. Today, we're diving into the latest chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 266. If you're a fan of sorcery, curses, and epic battles, you're in for a treat. Let's get started. In chapter 266, we pick up right where we left off from. The stakes are higher than ever as our favorite characters face off against Sukuna. Let's break down the key events of this chapter. One of the highlights of this chapter is the character development. Megumi Fushigaro really shines as he is confronted with his fears and pushed to the limit. This adds so much depth to the story. This is also why I believe this storytelling is a masterpiece, because Megumi has solidified that he is helping Yuji from the inside of Sukuna while Yuji battles from the outside. Megumi brings up how he wanted to create a world where the weak like Sumiki would not constantly go through an unfair life. Megumi says, even if I couldn't create such a world, I wanted to maintain that fragile life, at least while I was alive and while she was in my sight. Eating homemade meals, watching laundry dry off, walking side by side with a person like you, Itadori, and seeing Sumiki off to school makes me think, I'm so happy. This line of thinking for Megumi ties back to chapter 59 when his sister Sumiki had told Megumi, I'd rather spend my time thinking about those I love than cursing them. It's not a bad thing to not forgive people, Megumi. That shows that you care. Sumiki was the moral compass for Megumi. When Sumiki got cursed, he learned that how he used to think. For example, he hated bad guys because they acted like they were worth something, while he hated good people because they acted like forgiving bad people was divine. But he learned that Sumiki chose to care and love him as her brother, just as he chose to save Itadori's life. Megumi saw Yuji like Sumiki, which are good people who he believed was worth saving. This leads us to how Yuji used to think. Also, because when his grandpa was diagnosed with lung cancer, Wasuke rejected the harsh treatment. Yuji's body was already tough, so he couldn't understand the decision to refuse the treatment or the idea of euthanasia. Back then, he thought it was that person's problem, and he felt bad because he could endure it. But it won't be easy for others when they are in pain. His grandfather fought to survive and died by his own choice. After coming to Jujutsu Tech and experiencing the worst things imaginable, he started to understand the choices that people like Wasuke made. The choice of people who had to face harsh, unavoidable realities. Itadori says he understands how depressed Megumi is right now, and so Itadori cannot get himself to tell Megumi to leave. This ties back to when Gojo stated that he cannot save those who do not want to be saved. Back to the real world, Sukuna now in his present four-arm form activates Hollow Whisker Basket. While they're doing a standoff, Sukuna was on the defensive. Sukuna says that he cannot use Gojo's method for restoring a burnt-out curse technique because his brain is still wrecked from the effects of Infinite Void. It is explained that Hollow Wicker Basket and Simple Domain are weaker in output compared to actual domains. But by keeping the hand sign intact, even activating Hollow Wicker Basket, Sukuna compensated for the output it would lack. Thanks to having four arms with two maintaining the sign, Sukuna continued to fight without getting overwhelmed by the opponent's domain. Because Sukuna is built different with a body that is perfect for Jujutsu, this is why he's able to continue the combat. We then see birds are seen flying off. The geese represent Hamas, which is further Yuji's enlightenment, which further connects to Buddhism because Gege uses animals as metaphor for things in his story. Itadori and Sukuna begin throwing hands as they punch, knee, elbow each other, neither getting the upper hand. Now, Sukuna is doing something that we are not accustomed to seeing in his character. That is fighting with hate and rage. Sukuna lands a powerful strike on Yuji, and Sukuna says he is really surprised at how angry he got when he is looked down upon. Sukuna says to show pity to him, he's going to make every single human atone for what Yuji has done. This kind of angers Itadori as he look at Sukuna as he rises to his feet. That's where the scene shifts to where a younger Megumi in the alley where Gojo met him for the first time. Megumi asked the same question he asked Gojo, but now directs it to Yuji, who looks at him. Megumi says, "What's with that face?" That's when Yuji says, "Well, it'll be sad without you, Fushigaro." Suddenly, Sukuna falls into a shadow, keeping him immobilized for a while. Sukuna says that the 10 Shadows technique has already lost its function after Mahoraga was destroyed. Sukuna states that Megumi's soul was submerged with the bath is now coming back to because of Yuji's soul dismantles. This is when Sukuna receives a punch from Itadori, sending him flying. That Yuji smiles as he runs towards Sukuna. Now, Itadori and Sukuna are trading blows. They're going at it, which either they're doing punch, knee, kick, elbow, choke slam, body slam. It doesn't matter. They are just hammering each other. That's what Sukuna activates Hollow Wicker Basket to shield against Itadori's punches. But that's when you learn that even with reverse curse technique, it's pointless against Itadori's soul punches because Hollow Wicker Basket is actually going to fall apart the more Yuji hits it. That's when we see slashes come out of nowhere, which destroys Itadori's curse tool, or basically his curse gauntlet. And Yuji realized that Sukuna used Gojo's technique of resetting the birdhouse Kurt technique so that he could defend himself against Yuji. That's when Sukuna proceeds to open his domain. And suddenly, Sukuna senses his own finger, which is tied up somewhere connected to a long, winding flights of stairs. This is a real place after doing some research on it. Gege, I'm telling y'all, is a mastermind. I love how the story going, but as all good thing must come to an end. And I see that this is the climax of the series. Also, I want to point out that we see that when his gauntlet was destroyed, we see that Yuji, we know about the index finger, or the pinky finger, the pinky finger because Sukuna tore it off. But we learned that Rika ended up eating Yuji's ring finger just so that Yuta can use Shrine. And that's how Yuta ended up having Sukuna's cleave. And we see that the last piece of the puzzle, like I said, Sukuna's last finger is on those flight of stairs. So we're gonna see how they handle this. I can't wait for the next chapter because but I want to know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, y'all.